Today I have with me Rob Ellis. Rob, tell us about yourself.
I'm a producer, director, been in film for about 10 years. I've got 3 kids of my own, 12, 15, and 16 at this point. I've been doing all kinds of different things on the internet and studying philosophy and the human mind and the human condition for probably 22 years, something like that.
And your mission in this purpose of what we're going to be doing is, what are you trying to get out of this? What are you trying to help out the world, to raise awareness? What are you hoping for?
Oh, absolutely. I think actually the two of those things go hand in hand. I think that raising awareness will definitely help the world, because the more people know about it, the more people will take responsibility, as is really human nature, to take responsibility for things that we know need help. At least in my experience, I've noticed that when somebody has an awareness of something that's not okay, they have a tendency to get involved, actually do something. They're ethically bound to be responsible.
Do you feel that humans, in our human condition, we do have a moral compass, we do want to help, but it's just a matter of finding it within ourselves? Is that kind of what your feelings are?
Well, if you look at the history of human rights, it's really kind of interesting, because there were arguments that those human rights were actually known, and people just naturally, they called it human law at first, and then there was natural rights, and then it's human rights. But there were certain rules that people just naturally abided by. It was one of the things that Cyrus, the originator of human law, he put it out on the Cyrus cylinder, and you guys should check that out for yourself and find out what the Cyrus cylinder is and what the foundation of human rights are, and where it comes from. It's because it's naturally, humans will treat each other a certain way, or expect to be treated certain things. Certain things are expected. So yeah.
So it's the whole golden rule: do unto others as you'd like to do yourself. However, can you agree or disagree that a lot of us in society don't treat each other well? We have jealousy issues, we have judgments, we have perceptions, usually just based on physical alone, let alone all the spirituality, the religion, and all those belief systems. How do we overcome this to make a better world?
I think that education is really the key. What you're going to find is that when someone is actually imposing themselves on someone else, they're not observing that other person as a human being. But when their own rights are being violated, then they recognize, oh, well, these are my rights, this is being violated.
Sure, it's my rights.
That's right, that's right. And so they'll, when people are literally suppressing another person, they're not really seeing that person as a person, they're just thinking of themselves. I actually call that stupidity. It's like the unknownness of considering, like, if I just talked for the whole period of time that we had the camera rolling and I didn't let you have a chance to say something, then that invalidates you as an individual and what you're trying to accomplish here.
How so?
Well, it just doesn't allow you, like, I'm dominating, I'm feeding my ego by just taking over, like, what I have to say is more important than anything that you could say.
So you're taking away my voice, you're taking away my freedom of speaking and venting of my feelings, and that happens a lot in every aspect of life, from relationships to family to business. So there must be a revival, a different understanding that we have basic human rights, we must treat each other with respect and dignity, but we also need to educate and show people how this can be accomplished, because fear is crippling, it's all around us, and a lot of us don't know the next steps of what to do. We're either struggling with a personal issue ourselves and don't know how to get help, or we're saying, I want to help, I want to be a humanitarian, go out there and do the good deeds, but how do I do it? How do I find my calling? You want to elaborate a little more on our function and what we're doing?
Oh yeah, I definitely think that it's important to point out some areas that people are being active. Show some people that are doing something about some of the problems that we see around the world, and educating others, and actually serving people besides themselves.
Perfect.
Yeah, helping out with people that are homeless, giving them blankets or food. Oftentimes people don't take the time to consider, and this is why I was talking about stupidity, but oftentimes people don't take the time to consider what it is that the person wants and needs.
How so?
Well, like, say for instance, I was a volunteer and I had a certain amount of funding and I went to a place where there was a natural disaster, like say Haiti. If I showed up and I had a check and I wrote somebody a $10,000 check and just handed it to them, that's, oh great, in my mind, in my consideration, oh what could I do with $10,000? Well, that would be significant. However, if I was in Haiti and the banks were all destroyed and ruined and the money was all trashed and there was literally no food and water, a check is going to be completely worthless to me. So what I would want, if I was the recipient, is, well, can you give me a gallon of water? Can you help me and my family have something to eat and a place to sleep out of the rain, and a gallon of water and some food for the next 7 days?
So understanding that money obviously goes, helps, but it's not the end-all be-all.
Yeah. Well, even the fundamental, like the very lowest part of that, the foundational idea behind that, as I was talking about, like the stupidity is not knowing, or the unawareness of being aware. It's like the first step to being able to help someone is to ask them and find out from them what they want and need. And then you provide that. Then not only are you going to see that you're helping, but they're going to receive what you're doing as help.
Okay. So if you are struggling with something in particular and you're watching our videos, how can we be of service? How can we help?
Well, it depends on what the struggle is.
Okay.
If the person has a, what if they have a drug problem? What if they have a marriage or a relationship that's dissolving because they found an incompatibility between them and their partner? What if it's an abusive relationship?
Mm-hmm.
What if they're literally in a catastrophic state of apathy and they just can't pull themselves to do anything, and they feel like life is literally crushing them in?
We're here to provide the hope
Yeah.
for a greater future, to provide a greater maybe understanding of your surroundings and why you might have been put in that situation. Maybe you chose it on a subconscious level, and there's maybe a lesson you have to go through. Hoping that we can spin things to a positive, to understanding that most of our lives are in reactive states, where if we change our perspective and focus, the whole world changes. So we're going to be going into drug rehab centers and helping out mainly the teens that are struggling. Drugs are a big epidemic in this world, and they can be crippling. How can we help them, the ones that are struggling, to find a better future when they believe that there's nothing more powerful than these drugs? They want to get out, but they can't. How do we come into play?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize that a person is going to naturally move toward being right. A person wants to be right, and when a person observes that they've made a mistake, oftentimes they'll repeat the mistake over and over and over again because they're trying to prove that the mistake was right subconsciously.
Justifying.
They'll justify it. They'll have justified thought.
Yes.
Yeah. But they'll continue to push toward the rightness of the wrong action.
Yes.
And oftentimes a person that's using drugs will be literally hiding from something that's, like I was talking about before, that life is literally crushing them down, and it's an apathy of inaction. They can't feel that they don't feel like they could do something that would be, that would actually get them out of where they are. They feel trapped.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then the addictive cycle comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You go into denial, then you go into self-sabotage, then you play tricks with your mind of saying, oh, it's okay this
Yeah.
one last time, then I'll do it never again, ever again. And then the cycle repeats itself.
Right. There's some statistics that would be important to know before we even go into drug rehab. Is that, did you know that of all the 28-day programs that like there are several different 12-step and 28-day programs. Of all the programs, that they have a 7 to 9% success rate.
Did not.
Yeah.
How come?
Well, if you think about it, it takes a certain period of time to get the chemicals out of your system. And it takes a certain period of time, I've read that it takes 20 days to create a new habit. And that it's a successful thing to do, to replace one habit with another habit.
Okay.
You notice that maybe somebody trying to quit smoking and start chewing gum, or people get into regular habits that change from one cycle to another. Well, the 28-day program is literally designed because that's how long the insurance company will pay.
Okay.
The thing is like the people that succeed are those that had decided to succeed. Those very individuals, it has the same rate of success as just somebody who does it on their own, what they call white knuckling.
Sure.
I did it on my own. Of course, you'll seek out a support system. And the objective, the truth, is that you take this thing that you've used that creates comfort, the thing that you've used to support you, that creates this comfort level, and when you remove it, you decide to push it out of the way, you need to replace that with something that's positive. Like you were talking about the runner's high.
Okay.
When you get addicted to the endorphins and the things that are actually pumping through your body, those, when your hypothalamus really gets pumping out those neuropeptides, and you start really getting addicted because your body starts feeling these new things, you have to reprogram those pathways with new habits and routines, and it all starts with a thought. It all starts with deciding to do something different. And if you find yourself in a dangerous situation, the first thing you have to do is you have to identify the dangerous situation, you have to handle the situation and any danger in it, and then you change your operating basis. And that's really like, you gotta change something. When you make a decision like that, you change something, it'll move you, it'll give you the power over what occurs next.
Then, like you just said, instead of totally taking away something that is harmful for you and just saying, I'm just never going to touch it again, there has to be an aspect of pushing in a positive attribute or situation, or maybe an activity that provides so much joy, that gives you so many good feelings that you don't even think about the negative. Becoming from the negative pleasure seeker to the positive pleasure seeker.
Yeah, and it can be really simple too. I mean, if somebody feels completely overwhelmed, it might be really good for them to just go clean their sink. Just go in the kitchen and wash all the dishes and clean the sink and wipe it all down and get it clean, so that when you look at it, you see that it's clean. That puts you in power over your environment, and it gives you a small victory. And those little victories, if trying to take on the world is what you feel like you're doing, and you're completely overwhelmed, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is to find some small thing. I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to find where it goes, and I'm going to put it away. And chalk up those little tiny victories. You start something, you change it, and you finish it. You do a complete cycle on every little thing, but you do some little thing that you can get a little victory on, and that'll give you a personal win, and you'll be able to start getting more progress with bigger things. But start small.
You're saying take the small aspects and put yourself in places where you can figure out that I'm in charge, that I can do this. So a daily routine of, you said cleaning, let's say if you're a teenager, it might be getting your homework done. I'm in charge of my homework.
Well,
I did this.
That's a really good point, and this is where I would break it down, because it's easy to get overwhelmed and miss it if you go with something that's almost intangible, like getting my homework done. Well, you never get your homework done. There's always more reading, there's always more projects, always more assignments that you have to do. But getting this assignment done, like literally breaking it down to that one individual cycle, this one thing, and getting that one done, and then you set it off to the side, finished.
Okay.
You see what I mean? And literally breaking things down to that simplicity, and it'll make a huge difference in a person's ability to confront the world around them. to recognize that it's not just a whole oppressive force that's on them, weighing them to crush them into utter non-existence, but that it's just a series of simple tasks that can easily be accomplished if they focus on them one at a time.
Because many teenagers don't feel like they're in control.
Right.
Their family issues, their parents are telling them what to do, the school's telling them what to do, and they might think that I don't have free will, I don't have choice, I'm part of the system, and the system is fearful. Look around us, there's negativity everywhere, and you feel like you're the victim. You're the one being suppressed. Victim roles in our society are out of control, because what happens when you become a victim and you get the mentality of victim? Excuses start happening. Then you start creating situations in your mind to justify why you're not successful. Then it's not you being the one that's not making the success choices, it's your best friend or your parents put you in this situation. Society put me in this situation to not succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems that I've seen in today's society is that anyone but me. It's like, I'll blame anything but me. Oh, no, I didn't do that. It's not really my fault because I had this problem and this problem and this problem, and they did this or said that, or, you know, I got into my Facebook and all these people kept overwhelming me with all this bad stuff. Well, you got on Facebook. You took that step, you started this conversation, you answered that email, you looked at that video, you turned on the news, you walked home, and you did this. See, the thing is as soon as a person decides to take responsibility for each action, as soon as they take responsibility and they realize that they have full control, full responsibility for anything that occurs to them, things will start to get better.
True. I 100% agree, but to be the antagonist, easier said than done.
Oh yeah.
We've heard be responsible for your life forever, and responsibility is key, but why is it so hard?
Well, first I would define responsibility. So when I talk about responsibility, I'm not talking about guilt. I'm not talking about it's your fault. That's not what I mean at all. Fault and blame are one of the problems in our society today. You want to blame somebody else or blame yourself or take the fault or point the fault, and it's not what it's about. Responsibility is deciding to be the cause and not the effect. It's like if you want to be the cause of something great to happen, then you're going to have to make the decision to make it happen. You're going to have to make the effort to, on a daily basis, change your operating basis and create new habits and drive that thought or pull the end result to you by your own actions.
Okay, so responsibility is cause and effect in simple terms?
Yeah, it's deciding to be cause. Looking in any situation for where I actually started this to occur.
Okay, then what?
Then you can see by recognizing that you created this situation, you start to see day to day that you're creating new situations, you're creating your day as you make decisions, as you visualize the things that you want, focusing on what it is that you want versus what it is you don't want. And you find yourself, once you observe like where your thoughts are going, you find yourself recognizing what it is that you're doing if you think from the cause point. If you think from the viewpoint of being cause as an individual, then you start to see it for yourself.
Very few of us will go in and analyze and look at our patterns. Because why? If we have something that is negative that didn't come out our own way, we don't want to feel responsible, and there's a lot of pain that will come up, that will surface. We'd rather suppress the emotion and suppress it and say, I didn't do this on purpose and it wasn't really me, and I'm not going to go back and look at all the reasons why I put myself in this painful situation. Then people just won't do it. So all these thoughts and saying, I create my own reality, responsibility is cause and effect, great, but there must be a shift in consciousness to help people look for the non-instant gratification and also look inside themselves and say, I'm responsible, these actions affected me positively, these didn't, I'm going to put an action plan together and move forward. Gets a little complicated, but starts with taking responsibility.
Yeah, well, broken focus is the leading cause of failure. If you recognize what you want to do, and you have a goal that's significant to you, something that's important, something that you as an individual want to accomplish, then every decision, every moment-to-moment decision is tinted, like looking through a filter, like looking through, I'm a filmmaker, so I think in ND filters and like, if you look through a filter that makes everything kind of amber, there's this kind of odd color to everything that just kind of enhances the color, and it makes it feel like warm and fuzzy,
Okay.
But if you look through everything in life as a filter, each decision with the filter of I want to accomplish this goal, so you automatically with that filter you go, well, does this help me accomplish that goal or not? Well, no, it doesn't. So I'm not going to do that.